Good morning, Peter.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you very much for being here. It's an honor, and thanks for taking the time to be with us today.
Great to be back.
Cool, excellent.
Yeah.
So, last year was a good one for Lucid. You increased production and sales for the Lucid Air. You raised money, a sizable amount of funding from an anchor investor. The manufacturing plant in Arizona is about to finish or is already finished. You're building out, and as I understand, you're progressing with the manufacturing plant in Saudi Arabia for 150,000 units. And you also released, and as I understand, there were some sales of the Gravity at the end of just at the last week of last year. So, of course, not everything is rosy, and there are challenges ahead, and I hope that we can discuss some of those in a bit. But let's start with the Gravity. This is a big bet for you, and everyone that I have read that has driven that says that's a great product.
Yeah.
How about its market life? It's only been a couple of months. What are your reflections of these early stages of its market life? It's within expectations for production, for market acceptance for the Gravity?
Well, I think it's destined to be a landmark product because this Gravity, Lucid Gravity, is our new all-electric SUV with an EPA estimated range of 450 miles. It's a 7-seater car. And unlike many of the competition, it's not a 5-seater plus 2 for the kids in the back. You can put 7 full-size adults in the car. It achieves that 450 miles range with just 123 kilowatt hours of battery energy. This is a landmark product that we're able to achieve so much range with so few batteries. And that is a testament to the technology, the most advanced technology in the world that we've embedded in this car. It's our first SUV. We started production in December. We didn't slip the program a single day right through 2024. And this is what America wants. I think that the Lucid Air, our first product, has been very well received. We launched with the first car ever to have 520 miles range. No one today is within 100 miles range of where we were 3 years ago with that car. And that continues to do very well. Our sales last year were 10,000. That was up 70% on the 6,000 in 2023. And we sold just over 4,000 in 2022. So we're seeing this exponential sales growth, which is really good news. And we're really, really thrilled with the way Gravity is being received. Thank you.
Excellent. So you have you talked about the exponential growth of sales already, and you have a route to mass market. You're talking about the Air, now the Gravity. There is a mid-size crossover on the works.
Totally.
You have talked about raising brand awareness, licensing your technology and everything. So these are some of the milestones, the strategic goals. How are you measuring progress towards those? I mean, what are you looking as your signposts?
I think it's really important to sort of ground this in the vision of why we created Lucid, why Lucid exists. Lucid does not exist to be a niche luxury manufacturer. We're in a luxury space at the moment because we have to be there for financial reasons. We're there developing the most advanced technology in the world, which is actually going to cascade down and reduce the cost and viability of mass manufacture of EVs to help the planet in the future. We want Lucid to be huge. My vision for the company is to make 1 million cars a year in the early 2030s. And we're going to do that in progressive steps. We set a landmark with Lucid Air, which I believe is the best sedan in the world, the most advanced technology. We're bringing Gravity, which has got a significantly greater TAM. It's the product that all America's been waiting for. And then you're quite right, Nicholas, that in 2 years' time, we bring in our mid-size platform, our $50,000 car, and that's finally when we compete directly with Tesla with the Model Y and Model 3, best-selling cars in the world. But we will have a significant advantage because the cost of building, particularly a family car, is dominated by one thing. Electric car is dominated by battery costs. We're seeing that today. Battery costs are coming down, but there's still no gasoline equivalent. The cost of making a gasoline engine is a fraction of the cost of the battery pack that dominates the cost of the bill of materials, the sum of the parts to make an electric car. And with our advanced technology, we're able to travel further with less battery, so we'll be able to achieve competitive range in the future. Paradoxically, less range, as we were discussing before we came on stage, Nicholas, that will enable the car to go that competitive range with less batteries, which will give us a better gross margin and actually deliver a superior product to the customer.
And how will you measure that progress towards the mass market? Do you have some at least qualitative signposts that you have in place to say that we're doing well on that particular goal, or we have to accelerate on the other, or we're running ahead in some one?
Yeah. So, I mean, a key metric is just the progress we're making on the development of our mid-size. I have a very large proportion of my engineering team working as we speak assiduously. We're back at base working this very moment on elements to enable that car to be viable at that price point. And central to that is our new Atlas drive unit, which embodies everything we've learnt from our current drive unit, our 𝗧 that powers everything from a Pure at $69,900 right up to a Sapphire, which does 0 to 60 in less than 1.9 seconds. It's the most powerful true production car in the world. And we're embodying all the technology and the know-how from that 𝗧 technology into Atlas, which is our affordable, mass-producible drive unit, motor, inverter and transmission, which is going to be an absolute breakthrough for us and for the planet in terms of cost-effective, efficient drive units. Because the drive unit not only has to be cost-effective in its own right, but efficiency is critical, because the efficiency of the drive unit affects the size of the battery. Everyone's obsessing about energy density, gravimetric energy density of batteries. What I'm obsessing about is how efficient we can make the car so we use less of that battery in the first place.
And so that's at least the development processes are some of these signposts. And then just to take you back to, you mentioned a number, I didn't catch it, what you expect production to be or what you're aiming at by 2030. I had in mind about 250,000 units in 2 to 3 years from now, and last year it was about 9 to 10. So I don't want to sound pedantic, that is 25 times the difference in just a few years. Well, and that is we call it the valley of death. I mean, some manufacturers have tried to go through it and have achieved that. I mean, I mean, some haven't. Some, even the incumbent manufacturers are struggling with it.
Totally.
So how will you manage that?
Well, if we were having this conversation in mid-21, we hadn't sold a single car, and it seemed all like a pipe dream, and some people were saying it was vaporware. Then we announced we had the world's first 500-mile range car. No one believed it. Then when that became proven, there was this myth that we were stuffing it full of batteries. Then it became recognized that we'd done it with a relatively modest battery pack. We got to 10,000 cars last year. We've just put in an additional 3 million square feet into our plant in Arizona. And our capacity now, installed capacity, is 90,000 units. Our second factory is well on its way. Its construction is scheduled to be completed next year. I recently reviewed it. That's on very close to the banks of the Red Sea in Saudi Arabia. A matter of national pride for Saudi Arabia, a real centerpiece for their Vision 2030, their bold, audacious mission to transition their economy from fossil fuels to a sustainable mobility model. So we should have a capacity very close to 250,000 units very soon.
Now that you mentioned a bit of the strategic thinking behind the Saudi Arabia plant, is it for global markets? I mean, how does it all fit within your broader strategy?
So it's going to proudly take variants of a mid-size platform. There are going to be a number of variants of that. Initially, we'll start with 2. We've shown sneak peeks of that. This is our world platform. This is our affordable car. And we're going to manufacture that because it's a world platform in more than one place in the world. So we're going to ready our factory in Arizona for that as well. And we'll supply different regions of the world, from the hub in Saudi Arabia, from Middle East into Europe, into Asia, and North America from Arizona. It's a real stratagem that we have for our world platform.
Cool. So you talked a little bit about the technology development going from to your new Atlas
Yes.
units and all that. I mean, if we're looking a little bit further ahead in the next 5 years, what are the big technology directions that you see you're going to take? What are the big questions that you want to answer with
So
cars there?
I think that there's a lot of hope for breakthrough advances in gravimetric energy density of batteries. That's flattered to deceive for the last decade. If it happens, great. I really look forward to it. What we're doing is not needing so much energy in the first place. We're going up another axis. Everybody's myopically focused on watt-hours per kilogram of batteries. I'm myopically focused upon how many miles per kilowatt hour I can go. So I need less of these damn batteries in the first place. But these two approaches are actually synergistic. Then they are complementary. They're not at odds with each other. If there is a breakthrough in battery technology, combine that with our advances, and it's going to be just wonderful. So my vision of a car of the future is really a consequence of a conflation, a convergence of some disparate factors. First of all, I think we need to recognize that a more mature charging infrastructure, fast charging DC infrastructure, and slow charging AC overnight charging infrastructure is necessary. We need to have a change in people's behavior patterns. A great example is iPhone came in 2007. Before that, a lot of the competitive phone makers were focused on phones with longer batteries, 3-4 days batteries. iPhone just blew that out the water. It just had a barely 24-hour battery. But we all adjusted. Our use patterns, our social expectations of what a phone can be used for. We're used to charging it overnight. And I think socially we'll get more used to shorter range EVs. Combine that with cell chemistry. One of the great things of LFP, it takes higher C rates in charging than NMC, which means that you can charge faster. And a lot of, we hear about a lot of these Chinese cars taking very high kilowatts of power through their charging. A lot of that is the function of choosing a power cell, an LFP power cell rather than an MC range cell. We tend to choose more range cells at Lucid. We're going a little bit more towards a balance between range and power. So social changes, maturity of charging infrastructure, cell chemistry that can take higher C rates to reduce charging time. And then I see the future being, if we can get to 6 miles per kilowatt hour, we've got the first car in the world with Air Pure into production at 5 miles per kilowatt hour. That's the most energy efficient car, to best of my knowledge, in the history of the automobile. We have a project, a research project on our tech roadmap at Lucid to get to the magic 6 miles per kilowatt hour. Imagine a car then that only needs maybe 180 miles range. With the maturity of the charging infrastructure, the social changes, the speed of fast charging. That would only then require 30 kilowatt hours of energy. And then we look at the cost of some of these cells. We're seeing now, from the presentation I saw this morning, in this very room, seeing $60 per kilowatt hour becoming available. Man, we could make a battery pack for about $2,500, maybe $2,000, instead of $20,000, $25,000 today. And that is the driver for the mass adoption of the EV to save all mankind in the future. That's the way I see it.
So you say you talked about the roadmap to 6 miles per kilowatt hour, and as I understand, it's practically technologies and improvements that you have some visibility
Totally. We're
at the
well on the
moment.
way in our research program at Lucid. We've got a car in production at 5 miles per kilowatt hour, and that's achieving it with 420 miles range. And you need to factor the range in. If we halved the range and just provided like 210 miles range, the battery pack would be a lot lighter, and then we get much more than 5 miles per kilowatt hour. We're doing that with a longer range car than anyone else. It's not only the most efficient, but with the longest range. We're well on the road to 6 miles per kilowatt hour in our research program, and I want to see the results of that, the fruits of that, feeding into future Lucid models, and through the vision we have is licensing our technology to help other automakers, having a multiplier effect to benefit all mankind.
And we're talking here about kilowatt hour per kilogram, like energy density of like what we know can be feasible with technology that we know now in for batteries, like of the order of, let's say, 200 or so.
Yeah, well, it's the high 200s, knocking on the door of 300 watt hours per kilogram with an NMC, and I mean, I think there's perhaps, I mean, maybe I'm being a bit bearish about this. I've just seen these advanced cell chemistry, solid state, flat to deceive for so long now. I think there is perhaps we're a little bit myopic about that. I'm chasing everything else. And looking at the vehicle at a complete system level, you have a great background in fluid dynamics, Nick, and we have the most aerodynamic car in mass production in the world with a CD of 0.197. And it's no one thing, it's aerodynamics, it's packaging, it's the frontal area. Tyres play a huge part. We see a great potential for tyre technology to reduce the needs for battery energy over the next couple of years.
Solid state is, let's say, 10 years away, and
I don't know.
has always been 10 years away.
Yeah. I'd welcome it with open arms tomorrow, and combine that with what we're doing, it would be a breakthrough, but it hasn't come yet.
So let me go back to what you mentioned about societal change and the way that people treat their cars and everything. And just to, first of all, to take a step back and to look at the broader auto industry and how you think that electrification can change the makeup and how automakers are doing business right now.
Yeah.
How that could change the strategic kind of structure of the auto industry in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think there's likely to be significant changes with traditional OEs in the next few years. We have to go to a sustainable form of transport. And just logically, scientifically, it's not going to be fuel cell. It makes no sense. Hybrids make no sense. They're the worst of all worlds. It's got to be battery electric. Logically, scientifically, laws of physics, you've got to go battery electric, and the world is going to, I mean, who doubts in this room that 10 years from now, there won't be a very significant proportion of transportation which is pure battery electric? And I see, unfortunately, some OEs being left behind. In the train is going to leave the station, and that's why I'm very open about us having strategic alliances and making our technology available, because I want to create a multiplier effect. I don't want just Lucid to benefit from the tech advantages we're creating. I want to broaden the scope of that.
And you said some OEMs being left behind. Do you see these restructurings, more restructuring taking place? And you have some failed attempts recently? Yes,
there's a notable one in Japan. Who knows how this is going to play out, but I think the world is going to go battery electric sooner or later, and I think there will be players who get left behind in this seismic transition.
Cool. Peter, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
I hope that we would have had more time, but that was great.
No,
please,
thanks so much.
Let me thank Peter for...
Thanks.